The void was alive with distant echoes of energy pulses, the hum of distant engines, and the faint shimmer of alien hulls reflecting starlight. The alien fleet, vast and confident, had sent a call for reinforcements across the sectors, seeking to overwhelm humanity with numbers, technology, and precision. Yet they had underestimated a species honed by survival, tested against deathworlds where every day demanded ingenuity, intelligence, and unyielding resolve. From the edges of the known galaxy, human sensors picked up the distress signals and the alien broadcast. Hidden stations and shadow fleets stirred to life, massive warships long kept secret emerging from nebulae, asteroid fields, and cloaked orbital pathways. These vessels were not mere instruments of war, they were extensions of human will, adaptive and intelligent, equipped with technology designed for foresight as much as force. Every ship carried crews trained not only to fight, but to anticipate, to calculate, to transform the battlefield into a theater of inevitability. Alien commanders watched their reinforcements converge, their sensors buzzing with confidence. They did not see the human fleet yet, they could not sense it, for humans had learned the art of concealment beyond mere stealth. Cloaked in energy fields, weaving between gravitational anomalies, the Deathworlders' armada moved like predators. Quiet, patient, and perfectly coordinated. Every pulse of energy, every subtle movement in the void was a prelude to precision strikes they could not yet perceive. The flagship emerged first, massive and elegant, adaptive hull shimmering with pale blue energy that distorted sensors and light. Drones detached in silent, ghost-like streams, slipping into alien vessels to dismantle engines, communications, and weapon systems without a trace. Gravity wells bent the battlefield subtly, redirecting enemy volleys into empty voids and forcing formations into disarray. It was a choreography of inevitability, the outcome predetermined by strategy, intellect, and human ingenuity, across nearby planets and orbital stations. Observers glimpsed flashes of light and movement, sensing a force unlike any the galaxy had ever encountered. Civilians and soldiers alike felt awe, hope, and disbelief. The humans had arrived, not merely as warriors, but as arbiters of consequence. Every disabled vessel, every misfired volley, every subtle disruption broadcast a singular truth: humanity does not forgive attacks on the innocent, and when provoked, it responds with precision and inevitability. The alien commanders, arrogant and confident in their superiority, did not yet comprehend the scale or purpose of what approached. They believed reinforcements would secure their dominance, that numbers and firepower could overwhelm the human defenses. They were wrong. Humanity was not merely answering the call, it was redefining the battlefield itself, bending space, energy, and strategy to deliver a response that was calculated, inevitable, and absolute. And in the quiet between the distant pulses of energy, across the endless expanse of stars and void, one immutable fact crystallized across every human vessel: they had arrived, and the galaxy would remember. The alien fleet continued to advance, unaware that their call for backup had summoned a force they could scarcely comprehend. From the shadowed edges of the nebulae, the Deathworlders' fleet moved with silent precision, massive warships emerging from concealment as if born from the void itself. These vessels were more than metal and energy, they were instruments of inevitability, extensions of human intellect honed by worlds where survival was never guaranteed. Every sensor, every tactical array, every maneuver reflected centuries of ingenuity, patience, and adaptability. Alien commanders monitored their reinforcements with smug satisfaction, confident in the sheer scale of their response. Thousands of ships converged, filling their displays with the promise of overwhelming force. Yet they did not see the humans waiting in the interstices of space, the fleet hidden in gravitational shadows, cloaked by energy fields that bent light and disrupted scanning arrays. Every vessel was poised to strike at the perfect moment. Its drones and auxiliary craft prepared to dismantle entire formations before the enemy could even react. The flagship of the human fleet led the advance, a colossal structure of adaptive hulls glowing with rhythmic blue energy. Its presence was serene, almost meditative, yet radiated authority that pulsed across the battlefield. Drones detached in ghost-like streams, slipping into alien vessels with surgical precision, neutralizing propulsion, weapon arrays, and communication hubs. The battlefield itself became a weapon, gravitational distortions redirecting energy volleys into empty voids, forcing alien formations into chaos without a single human ship firing its main cannons. Observers on nearby colonies and orbital stations witnessed distant flashes of energy. Strange disruptions in alien formations, and vessels vanishing inexplicably. Fear and awe rippled across their populations. Humanity had arrived not merely as a defensive force, but as an enforcer of consequence, a species that would not tolerate cruelty, and whose intelligence allowed it to manipulate space, energy, and strategy to achieve outcomes that seemed impossible to those who underestimated it. The alien commanders grew frantic. Desperation rippled through their fleets as their numbers became meaningless. Their formations faltered under invisible pressure, engines sputtered without explanation, weapons arrays became unreliable, and coordinated attacks dissolved into chaos. Every maneuver the humans made anticipated and countered their every thought, as if the Deathworlders could read intentions before they were conceived. Human intelligence was not just a tool, it was the battlefield itself, dictating the rhythm, flow, and outcome of every engagement. Even as the chaos spread through enemy ranks, human crews maintained a measured restraint. Ships were disabled rather than destroyed, collateral damage minimized, and life preserved whenever possible. Each incapacitated alien vessel carried a clear, unspoken warning: underestimate humanity, violate the innocent, and you will face consequences beyond comprehension. The galaxy's most arrogant species now confronted a terrifying truth: the Deathworlders were not merely fighters, they were calculated inevitability. Strategy incarnate, and moral clarity made manifest across a fleet of unimaginable precision. From the flagship's bridge to the outermost vessels, a singular thought resonated through every crew, every drone, every system. They were not here to fight blindly, not to conquer or to kill recklessly, but to enforce a lesson the galaxy would never forget. The call had been answered, and humanity's reckoning had begun, unfolding with a quiet inevitability that no alien calculations could anticipate. And as the first waves of alien reinforcements faltered, a silent certainty spread through the fleet and across the stars: humanity had arrived, and the consequences of defying them would be absolute. The alien fleet, once a symbol of unchallenged dominance, now teetered on the edge of total disarray. Their numbers were vast, their formations precise, yet none of it mattered. Humanity did not rely on overwhelming firepower or brute force, they relied on intelligence, anticipation, and the immutable law of consequence. Across the void, human warships emerged from nebulae, asteroid belts, and hidden gravitational corridors, their adaptive hulls glowing faintly with rhythmic blue energy that bent light and distorted enemy sensors. Each vessel moved as part of a coordinated organism, a living embodiment of strategy and inevitability. Drones detached in silent, ghost-like streams, slipping into alien ships with surgical precision. Engines were disabled mid-burn, weapon arrays fell silent, communications were scrambled, and navigation systems faltered without warning. Entire formations faltered, not due to direct attack, but because the battlefield itself had been subtly manipulated. Gravitational wells bent trajectories of incoming fire, redirecting volleys into empty space, while drones infiltrated command centers to dismantle targeting arrays. Every movement of the human fleet anticipated the enemy's reaction, a calculated dance of inevitability that left no room for error. From orbital stations and planetary colonies, witnesses observed flashes of light and vanishing ships. Civilians and soldiers alike felt awe and terror in equal measure. Humanity had arrived, but not as mere defenders. They were arbiters of consequence, agents of inevitability, whose intelligence allowed them to shape space, strategy, and outcomes before the enemy even realized they were being outmaneuvered. The sheer scale of what was happening surpassed comprehension: entire fleets incapacitated without a shot fired, formations collapsing as if the void itself had betrayed them. Alien commanders were desperate. Their reinforcements had been called to secure dominance, but they found themselves outmatched in ways their calculations could not predict. Engines failed inexplicably. Weapons misfired or shut down, and drones dismantled critical systems with invisible precision. Every attempt at retaliation was anticipated, countered, or neutralized before it could be effective. Human intellect was weaponized across the void, and the aliens could only watch as inevitability itself was delivered. Even amidst total domination, humanity maintained restraint. Vessels were disabled rather than destroyed, lives preserved wherever possible, and collateral damage minimized. Each incapacitated alien ship bore a warning: the innocent will be defended, arrogance will be punished, and any act of violation will be met with absolute consequence. The galaxy's most confident species now faced a terrifying revelation: they were not battling only ships, weapons, or numbers. They were facing strategy incarnate, intelligence perfected by survival, and moral clarity rendered into action. The flagship moved like a calm storm through the battlefield, its presence radiating authority. Energy pulses traveled outward, coordinating drones and fleets, dictating the rhythm of the conflict. Every human vessel acted in perfect harmony, dismantling formations, neutralizing threats, and controlling the battlefield itself. Human commanders observed the engagement with measured focus, understanding that victory was inevitable, not a goal. It was a consequence of intellect, strategy, and foresight, as the alien fleets faltered, drifting helplessly and disoriented. The Deathworlders' Armada pressed forward. Across the galaxy, observers understood the same unshakable truth: humanity had arrived, and the consequences of underestimating them would echo across the stars for generations. Each pulse of energy, each precise strike, each manipulated trajectory carried one unmistakable message: Earth's children would not forgive, would not yield, and would not be stopped. And in the quiet aftermath of each dismantled formation, a singular thought resonated through every human vessel: justice is inevitable, and it waits for no one. The alien Armada, once a flawless symbol of dominance, now existed in fragments of confusion and desperation. Their ships drifted helplessly, engines sputtering, weapons offline, and command networks failing in ways that defied logic. Reinforcements had been summoned, entire fleets converging to overwhelm humanity, yet the Deathworlders' response had been meticulous, invisible, and inevitable. Every human ship that emerged from the shadows of nebulae, asteroid belts, and gravitational anomalies was more than a warship. It was a manifestation of strategy perfected over millennia, intellect honed on worlds that would have destroyed lesser species, and a moral clarity that guided every maneuver. The flagship led the Armada with serene authority, its massive adaptive hull pulsing with soft blue energy that distorted light and bent alien sensors. Behind it, human vessels moved as one organism, each anticipating the other's actions, each responding instantaneously to subtle changes in the battlefield. Ghost-like drones detached silently, infiltrating alien ships to dismantle propulsion, disable weapons, and scramble communication systems. Gravitational distortions bent enemy fire into empty space, disrupting even the most coordinated volleys. What the aliens saw as chaos was, in fact, calculated inevitability, the universe bending to human strategy. Observers across planets and orbital stations felt the trembling pulse of what had arrived. Civilians and military personnel watched alien ships vanish, engines cut off mid-flight. Entire formations faltering without apparent reason. Awe and fear rippled through their ranks. Humanity had not merely arrived as defenders, they were arbiters of consequence, capable of shaping the battlefield, dictating outcomes, and enforcing justice with surgical precision. Each incapacitated ship carried a silent, unmistakable warning: underestimate humanity, violate the innocent, and the consequences will be absolute. Alien commanders panicked. Reinforcements that had been called to ensure dominance now seemed irrelevant. Engines failed without warning, weapons misfired, and targeting arrays collapsed. Each human maneuver anticipated the enemy's next thought, next reaction. As if every calculation and strategy had been known before it was conceived. Humanity's intelligence was weaponized across the void, controlling space, energy, and momentum to create inevitability. Every movement reinforced the lesson: arrogance and cruelty would not go unpunished. Even in the midst of overwhelming control, human crews exercised restraint. Vessels were disabled, not destroyed, collateral damage minimized, lives preserved wherever possible. The galaxy's most confident species realized a horrifying truth. They faced not merely ships or weapons, but intellect perfected by survival, strategy refined in adversity, and moral clarity rendered into action. Humanity did not strike blindly. Every pulse, every disabling maneuver, every precise trajectory was a lesson written across the void. The flagship moved forward like a calm storm, energy pulses radiating outward, coordinating drones and fleets, dictating the rhythm of the conflict. Alien formations crumbled under invisible pressure, engines stalled, weapons fell silent, and communications fractured. Human commanders observed with unbroken focus, knowing that the victory was not an aim, it was a consequence, an inevitable outcome of intelligence, foresight, and meticulous planning. As the remaining alien ships drifted, powerless and disoriented, the Deathworlders' Armada advanced deeper into the void. Across distant systems, the same truth crystallized in every observer's mind: humanity had arrived, and the cost of defying them was absolute. Every pulse of energy, every controlled strike, every gravitationally manipulated trajectory carried a single message: Earth's children cannot be underestimated. And in the quiet stillness between the remnants of alien formations, a resolute certainty echoed through the fleet: humanity does not forgive, humanity does not forget. The alien Armada's remnants drifted like broken relics of a once feared empire, powerless, disoriented, and unable to coordinate even the simplest maneuvers. Their confidence, built on centuries of domination, had evaporated, replaced with panic and disbelief. Reinforcements they had called with arrogance now proved meaningless. Humanity did not rely on sheer numbers or overwhelming force. The Deathworlders' fleet acted as an extension of intellect, strategy, and moral inevitability. Every ship, every pulse of energy, every drone deployment reflected a species that had survived worlds designed to kill it, a species that had turned survival into mastery, and mastery into law. From shadowed nebulae, asteroid belts, and cloaked orbital corridors, the fleet advanced like a tidal wave of inevitability. Massive warships with adaptive blue-hued hulls cut through the void, moving in perfect synchronization. Drones detached silently, infiltrating alien vessels with surgical precision. Dismantling engines, disrupting weapons arrays, and scrambling communications in moments. Gravitational distortions bent enemy fire, turning coordinated volleys into disasters. Entire formations faltered before realizing they had been outmaneuvered. Entire fleets were neutralized not by brute force, but by subtle manipulation and foresight that the aliens could neither perceive nor anticipate. Across the galaxy, observers on orbital stations, planets, and hidden colonies watched distant flashes and vanishing vessels, sensing the arrival of something extraordinary. Civilians and soldiers alike felt awe and fear. This was not just a fleet, it was judgment made manifest, a species enforcing consequence with precision. Intellect, and unrelenting moral clarity. Every disabled alien ship carried a singular, undeniable message: underestimate humanity, violate the innocent, and the cost will be absolute. Alien commanders attempted desperate consolidations, coordinating what remained of their forces into concentrated strikes. Massive energy beams surged, kinetic projectiles carved paths through the void, but each assault was anticipated and neutralized. Shields absorbed and redirected energy, engines faltered under subtle manipulations, and drones dismantled targeting systems before a single weapon could fire. Humanity dictated the battlefield itself, controlling not only their fleet but the flow of space, energy, and momentum. Every movement reinforced a universal truth: arrogance would be punished, cruelty would not go unanswered, and the innocent would be defended with unyielding precision. Even as entire enemy formations were neutralized, restraint guided the human response. Ships were disabled rather than destroyed, collateral damage minimized, and life preserved wherever possible. The galaxy's most arrogant and confident species had collided with a force beyond comprehension: intellect honed by survival, strategy perfected in adversity, and moral clarity wielded as a weapon. The battlefield itself became a lesson etched into the memory of the void: humanity does not strike blindly. And its retribution is inevitable. The flagship moved forward like a calm storm, its energy pulses radiating outward to coordinate every drone, every vessel, every maneuver. Alien formations crumbled under invisible pressure, engines stalled, weapons fell silent, and command networks fragmented. Human commanders observed with unwavering focus, knowing that victory was no longer a goal, it was an outcome predetermined by intellect, foresight, and the relentless application of strategy. As the last alien vessels drifted powerless, the Deathworlders' fleet advanced, leaving a trail of disabled ships and shattered arrogance. Across distant star systems, one truth spread silently but unmistakably: humanity had arrived. And the cost of underestimating them was eternal. Every pulse of energy, every disabling strike, every gravitationally manipulated trajectory carried a single, unavoidable message: Earth's children are relentless, and justice is absolute. And through the quiet stillness of space, a final, unyielding certainty echoed across the fleet: humanity does not forgive, humanity never forgets, and humanity always prevails. The alien Armada, once a spectacle of dominance, now drifted as hollow remnants, engines dead, weapons cold, and command networks fragmented. The fleets they had called upon with arrogance were powerless, their reinforcements meaningless against a species that had turned survival into art and strategy into inevitability. Humanity's Deathworlders fleet moved through the void like a living force, each vessel not merely a warship but a manifestation of intellect, foresight, and moral precision. Every pulse of energy, every maneuver, every drone deployment carried centuries of adaptation, calculation, and unyielding resolve. From hidden nebulae and asteroid corridors, human warships emerged with quiet authority. Massive flagship hulls glimmered with adaptive blue energy, bending light and confusing alien sensors. Behind them, the fleet moved as one organism, each vessel anticipating the movements of every other, every system interconnected, every drone in precise synchrony. Ghost-like drones infiltrated alien ships silently, disabling engines, scrambling weapons arrays, and dismantling communications without leaving trace or warning. The void itself became a weapon. Gravitational distortions redirected energy volleys, entire formations collapsed under invisible pressures, and alien fleets fell into chaos without realizing they had been outmaneuvered before they even moved. Observers on planets, colonies, and orbital stations watched in disbelief as distant ships vanished, energy flares illuminated the void, and entire alien formations crumbled with unnerving precision. Civilians and soldiers alike felt awe, fear, and hope. Humanity had arrived not simply as a force of retaliation, but as arbiters of consequence. Wielding intelligence, strategy, and moral clarity as instruments of inevitability. Every disabled alien vessel broadcast a singular, unambiguous truth: underestimate humanity, violate the innocent, and the consequences will be absolute. The alien commanders attempted one final consolidation, concentrating all remaining firepower into synchronized volleys meant to overwhelm the flagship. Massive beams of energy surged forward, kinetic projectiles carved through the void, yet every attack failed. Shields absorbed, engines faltered, and drones dismantled targeting arrays before a single weapon could fire. The humans dictated the battlefield itself, controlling not only their vessels but the very flow of space, energy, and momentum. The aliens' arrogance shattered under the weight of calculated inevitability. Even amidst total domination, the Deathworlders' fleet exercised restraint. Ships were disabled rather than destroyed, collateral damage minimized, and lives preserved wherever possible. The galaxy's most arrogant species confronted an incomprehensible truth. They were not fighting weapons, numbers, or technology. They were facing intelligence perfected through adversity, strategy perfected by necessity, and moral clarity rendered into action. Every pulse, every trajectory, every subtle manipulation carried a lesson etched across the void: arrogance and cruelty would be punished. The flagship pressed forward like a calm storm, energy pulses radiating outward, coordinating drones and fleets, dictating the rhythm of engagement. Alien formations crumbled under invisible forces, engines stalled, weapons fell silent, command networks fractured. Human commanders maintained focus, aware that victory was not a goal, it was a predetermined outcome. the inevitable conclusion of intellect, foresight, and disciplined precision. As the last alien ships drifted helplessly, the Deathworlders' fleet advanced through the void, leaving behind a trail of disabled vessels and shattered pride. Across the galaxy, one truth spread to every observer: humanity had arrived, and the cost of underestimating them would echo for generations. Each calculated pulse of energy, every surgical strike, every gravitationally manipulated trajectory carried one undeniable message: Earth's children are relentless, intelligence is weaponized, and justice is absolute. And in the eternal silence of space, a single, resolute thought resonated across every human vessel: humanity does not forgive, humanity never forgets, and the galaxy will remember.